Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another one of these grid previews. Just giving you an insight as to the runners and riders, the drivers, and the teams for the RSF1 season. We're here now, and this is the pinnacle of the league, the fastest of the fast, the quickest of the quick. These are the Tier 1 drivers. Extra brownie points for those who got the reference I just did there. I'm as RSF1 Michael, also known as Brundle. And yeah, let's go over the Tier 1 division. So, as I said before, these are the pinnacle of the league. And for several reasons, they show an example. They are very, very quick, sometimes bafflingly quick, but they're in the Tier 1 because of this reason. And last season, I was very impressed as a viewer watching these guys, most of which are here once again. So no doubt they're going to put on a show once again. But let us begin with the first team. The first team I'm going back to is the Mercedes F1 team. Formerly the champions of last season with Easton and Lando, both of which have changed teams. So we'll see where they end up. But the first driver in with the Mercedes is Adam R2396. Not much is known about Adam from my perspective. He is brand new into the league, I believe. I think he raced a couple of times last season, unless I'm completely wrong with that. So the information with him is quite limited, I'm afraid. But that's always the exciting part, because we don't know what this guy is capable of. Apparently he's quite quick, which obviously you have to be in the Tier 1 division. But yeah, not much known about Adam. So apologies on that. But I'm excited to see what he can do. He's partnered up with somebody I do know of, and that is RSF1 Mansell. Mansell used to be in the McLaren, got 93 points last time out, so a steady season. Got a bit unfortunate, I think, last season. He's definitely has the capability to mix it in with the front runners, and I think this season he'll be keen to get back up near the top and scoring plus 100 points this season. I think he's very capable of doing so. Obviously the brother of BF1 Racer, who is obviously in F2. So yeah, he's coming on strong, is Mansell, in the Mercedes this time. So let's see how he can handle the current Constructors and Drivers Championship was in this car as well. So it's a good handy car to have, and Adam and Mansell use it to their advantage. Next though is the Ferrari team, and we start off, I will mention we do have only one driver at the moment, because there is a vacant seat currently, which means as of this moment, which could change by tonight, we don't have two full drivers, so it's kind of an open game and who's going to be in there. We've got the likes of Smoking But Bates, who is returning back, Scump Burnett as well, Element Snow, so any of those can end up in a Ferrari, as well as loads of others, which is good to see. We have about 5 or 6 reserves in this tier. So we'll see who ends up in that Ferrari seat, but we do have one driver in there currently, and that is Natdog 2005. Remaining in the F1 division this time out. 55 points in the Haas he scored last season, and this is a very accomplished driver. I know this because he races with me, for me, against me sometimes in the Forza Endurance races that I do, and he's very, very solid driver in terms of that regard. On F1, pretty much the same. Will be reliable for Ferrari. Obviously Raikkonen, the team principal there, has a very handy driver that will turn up, that will score the points, and should have another very solid season. I think should do a lot better this time out. Again, like Mansell, was a bit unfortunate in the instance that he got caught up in. Maybe needs to be a little bit quicker in the qualifying, it seemed like last season, but that's the pressure of being in Tier 1. You've got to be on it pretty much week in, week out. Otherwise you find yourself near the rear of the grid. But yeah, should be hopefully a good, better season for Nat Dog in the Ferrari. Again, his teammate at the moment, as of time of broadcasting this, it is vacant, but on the way of being filled. The next team is the team that obviously, me being in the Red Bull, it'll be looking at the most, and that is the Red Bull team, especially because my team principal, Unity Hush, is in this, and he's got a very strong teammate in Midzi alongside him. But first of all, on Hush, now remember, Hush was one of the front runners, runner-up in fact, in Season 2 in RSF1, in the F1 tier. Last season, again, the pressures of being in Tier 1, you got to be in it week in, week out. And Hush did have some very strong performances on various tracks, but consistency maybe... I'm trying not to sound a bit too harsh here, because he did have a solid season with 147 points, which he had the Red Bull last season as well. So he's very much used to this car. So he'll be eager to continue pushing on. I think he still really wants that Drivers' Championship that eluded him from Season 2. But yeah, also he'll be looking to get back in and amongst the leaders and the front runners this season. Partnered with Midzi, who many have kind of labelled, including the reigning champion Easton, as Easton's potential biggest threat, biggest challenger, if you like. There are a lot of challenges in this division. I'm not saying there's not any others, because there is others. It's a highly competitive tier, but Midzi showed in the qualifying last season, and in his points, 190, considering he didn't start the season, was a very, very strong total. One would say if he did have the full season last season, where would it have been ended up? Would it have been close to Easton? Possibly. So that is every indication that this season could be his. It's going to be close for him though, because we know the caliber of drivers in this tier is going to keep on pushing and keep on getting the results week in, week out. But a very strong team at Red Bull here. I'm very proud of these two drivers. Hopefully the expectation doesn't become too much and they get nervous, but very happy with Red Bull. If I do say so neutrally, of course, I think they'll be quite strong. Next is the McLaren team, and another quite strong team, and it's as if fate has drawn us a card here, because we have both Vettels in this team. We have RSF1 Vettel and we have Vettel SF71H, which for the two commentators of this tier is going to be very interesting to try and commentate on. They're going to have to get a system going to decipher between the two. But let's start with RSF1 Vettel here. 46 points last season, had a tricky 2/3 of the season last season in the Alfa Romeo. Again, qualifying didn't seem to work out and was trying to get up through the races. It wasn't until the final third of the season, Brazil in particular and Abu Dhabi, even though there were lower grids in that one, less cars, still doesn't take away the fact that they're two very solid races. And I think with that, I think he can use that to have like a better beginning to this season, RSF1 Vettel. In a McLaren this time, wasn't an Alfa Romeo, but maybe he didn't like the Alfa Romeo particularly. So maybe he's looking at this, the McLaren, as a bit of fresh air, a bit of change of scenery. As for his teammate, Vettel SF71H, of course we know from the F2 commentating role that he does on the Sunday, or did last season. In terms of his racing though, bit of a tricky season. 23 points in the Alfa Tower last season. And he'll be hoping for a better season this time out. I think he will do better. I think a solid top 10 finish for Vettel SF71. Again, I'm going to get confused between the two if I commentate on this tier, but yeah, should be hopefully a solid season, a better season for Vettel SF. And yeah, be an interesting pairing, these two in the McLaren team. Next is the Renault team, and first of all we're talking about Tomac Brezina. Now Brezina is the F2 champion from season 2, and obviously last season had to make that step up to F1, and I think he did a very solid job. 52 points in the end. What's the word? Doesn't say everything about his season. He had a very good season considering he had to make the jump up from F2, which is very difficult to do. You've just got to find yourself another level to move on. With that though, I think he's found his feet now in F1, and I think this season is where he can get the extra push to go even further. Potentially podiums and wins possibly for Brezina. I think this season he's got a good car behind him, the Renault, and a good team principal in Shane, so all of which hopefully will be a better season for Brezina. He is partnered up with the returning RSF1 Karun, or I say returning, he was IGN Legends last season, and I say returning because I don't think he did every race last season. So coming into this season, remember, he used to be a front runner of season 2 in the F1 tier, so we know what IGN Legends is capable of. I believe he still has the fire behind him. I believe he still has the motivation behind him. Got to start off strong because he's got to get back into the rhythm of things in terms of league racing, back to the competitiveness of F1. So yeah, should be a decent season for IGN Legends. Again, 29 points, but I think he only did half a dozen races, 6 or 7. So yeah, IGN Legends, Karun, whatever his gamer tag is when he rocks up in Australia. Yeah, should be a solid season for him. Alfa Tower is next up, and this is a very strong team. This is a very reliable team, not least of which has the reigning F1 champion RSF1 Eastern in it, and he's quite happy with the Alfa Tower. Found the Mercedes quite slidey apparently, when he said to me about the Mercedes, because I asked him about it and he was like, oh, it's very slidey on the rear. The Alfa Tower is pretty much the complete opposite. It's very stable. So yeah, that could be all the ingredients for Eastern to retain his title. Of course, we saw in Season 3, our F1 champion from Season 2 couldn't retain it. Can Eastern? That is the biggest question. Can he retain it? He has changed a lot of assists from last season. I believe it's no line and no traction or something like that, which he had one of those on in last season for Eastern. So question would be, how quickly can he get used to those assists, and how he's got to start off strong. He's not hopeful for Australia, said to me earlier also, so that could be the opportunity for everyone else to get a little bit of a head start on him before he can get into the season proper. But let's see what he can do. He has the target now, and that's the added extra pressure. You've now done it, now you've got to retain it. He is partnered up with a very strong teammate of Mr. Pigeon Munch, who we know from in RSF1, in Tier 1 for the last several seasons now. A very, very confident driver. Qualifying may not be able to mix it up with the likes of those usually in Q3, the mid-seas, the Hushes, the Easterns, etc., etc. But his race pace is, at some points and some tracks, almost mind-blowing. Always seems to stay out of trouble. Never count him out if he's out in Q1. That's the one thing I've learned from Mr. Pigeon Munch. He'd be like 17th or something, and halfway throughout the race it's like he's 6th on some cases. So obviously the thing missing from that sometimes is the qualifying, and that's what he's got to sort of work on, I think, for this season. Again, he's got a good strong teammate in Easton behind him. Maybe Easton can give him a little few pointers, because Easton's a good qualifier, so maybe they can work with each other, and that could be a good chemistry going forward, especially for the constructors as well. So yeah, Pigeon, 160 points, no, 100, Yes, 160 points last time out for Mr. Pigeon. Can he reach the 200 mark and challenge for the title? We shall see. Next is the Racing Point team, and we start off with somebody that used to be in the Williams, Kid Cudi. Now, Kid Cudi, 116 points in the Williams, very strong season for Cudi, because he got promoted also, I think, from season 3 or season 2 to 3 or something like that. And again, similar to Brezina, had to make the step up into F1 full time. Yeah, there were some very strong highlights from Kid Cudi over last season. Very strong performances. In particular, I think S04, he was on the front row, but the race came away from him, and that's the only thing kind of missing from Cudi's resume. Not to say that it was a bad season, but obviously if he wants to be in the top 5, challenging for wins, he's got to stay out of trouble. But again, not his fault, I thought, really. I thought he got very unfortunate with the incidents he was in. That's just me personally. And yeah, but that sometimes happens. So this time the luck could be his way. I think if he can keep the qualifying record up, which is quite strong, then who knows, the results will come his way, because he definitely has the pace to be in this division, and that's good to see. Got the same team principal in Camo as well, and that can also help. You know how when you know how each other works, then that's always a good thing. He is partnered with O'Hardy, who I believe was a reserve last season. I'm not completely certain on that. Again, similar to Adam, I don't really have much information on Hardy, so it'd be interesting to see what he can do. He's a little bit of a dark horse and an unknown, but as we've seen already this week, unknown drivers to me have done quite well, so maybe he can continue the trend. Yeah, looking for a solid season in Racing Point. Next up is the Alfa Romeo team, and Alfa Romeo these could be a dark horse in F1. This could be a bit of a surprise, because they've got 2 drivers that are both motivated, but both highly driven, both have good assets for their racing. So yeah, could see the Alfa Romeo strong in the F1 tier. But the first driver is Corey Marshall, who finished in 3rd place in the Alfa Tower last season, 194 points. Was challenging the likes of the eventual constructors winners Mercedes of Lando and Easton quite consistently on some cases. It's just the last 5 or 6 races, I think he fell away a little bit, and was still in and around, but the gap seemed, as I said, fell away from him a little bit. But I'm pretty sure he is determined to right the wrong of last season, to finish off strong, because as I said, about halfway through, he was really challenging the likes of Easton and Lando. So yeah, if he can repeat that phase, say like we get to Hungary and he's in and around fighting for the title, those races that didn't go strongly can be actually better. So Corey Marshall, yeah, definitely could be near the front once again. He is partnered up with Days Rhombus. Of course, we know who Days Rhombus is. A very well-known driver, not necessarily the most popular, but very well-known, is Mr. Rhombus. And yeah, we know his style. He's a feisty driver, can qualify very decently as well. And yeah, but it seems as well, 134 points in the Renault, very solid season last time out. Obviously, he's got to adjust from the Renault engine to the Ferrari engine. Sounds silly, but some cars, act differently to others. Some very different to others, so he's got to work that out first, and obviously start strongly going forward. Apparently, he's very, very quick in Australia. Apparently, rumoured to have done a 118, which is the fastest we've had, which would be the fastest we've had this week. So yeah, he's definitely turning some heads already, or raising a few eyebrows for this season. Again, seems to qualify well, but the races kind of ends up in places that he wouldn't want to be in, or wouldn't like to be in anyway. So if he can again have a better luck this season, could be challenging the front. But yeah, good pairing there, Alfa Romeo. Next, we have the Haas team, and we arrive at the Haas team principal of Sink Diggles in the Haas team, and he's partnered up with Turbo HU, used to be called S04 Turbo. But first of all, Diggles had a very unfortunate season last time out. 25 points in the Racing Point. That was his first season in F1, I believe. I don't think he was in F1 in Season 2. So Diggles this time out, he's found his feet, I think. Shaken off the luck, I hope, because again, bad luck just thwarted Diggles in last season. Now that he's a team principal, will be motivated even more to improve from last season. Now he's got to lead the Haas team as an example. Yeah, hopefully a better season for Diggles. He's a very popular character in the RSF1 community, so we all hope that he does have a better season. I think he will. He's partnered up with Turbo, also, as I said, also used to be known S04 Turbo. Had a pretty average season, obviously not to bring it down a little bit. 67 points in the Alfa Romeo last time for S04 Turbo. Again, the qualifying seems to be there for Turbo, but the race results just haven't come together for whatever reason. Not, again, his own doing. It's just the way league racing goes when you're in a competitive tier. Wrong place at the wrong time, and then you just don't get the result that you necessarily like. So for Turbo, he'll be keen to put aside that and to improve. Obviously, he will be pushed by Diggles as his teammate and principal. So yeah, Turbo could have a better season this time out. And last but not least is the Williams team, and we get to our last team principal in the F1 tier, and that is RSF1 Lando. Of course, runner-up to Easton last time out in the season, and Easton just had that little bit extra to finish off the season strong. But Lando definitely fought very, very hard, and I think this season he'll be keen to not necessarily take revenge, but to get one over on Easton, because they both know each other, they both respect each other, they always say nice things about each other, but now that you're not in the same team, so can Lando push Easton and beat him this time out? Obviously, principal this time of Williams. He was team principal of Mercedes last time, and Mercedes did a very good job. As for Williams, obviously not much to change. Same power engine, power unit in the Mercedes power, but obviously could be slightly different. But already seems quick in this car, so Lando, could this be the season for him? We shall see. And he's partnered with a driver that we've come to know as well, called Adolf, and 28 points in Ferrari last time out for Adolf. Had a tricky season, very similar to Diggles. Only beat Diggles by 3 points, so that's kind of easy to say. Again, qualifying needs to be a little bit better this season, I feel. But the race pace is there. Always seems to recover points when he finishes races. If he qualifies not so well, so Lando obviously will be very keen to get Adolf's qualifying sorted, and then they can both push each other on for the Williams team and hopefully have a good one. And that is the F1 tier. Yeah, pretty decent grid. Obviously, Ferrari needs to be filled at some point. Might be filled tonight, might be filled tomorrow. Just obviously at this point it's vacant, so unknown, and we will see who is in the Ferrari team tonight in Australia. Yeah, obviously the biggest question is, can Easton retain his title in the Alfa Tower this time, not the Mercedes? Are we set to have new constructors champions, or can the Mercedes retain it from last season? In terms of drivers, like early this week, I'm going to give my own personal top 5. But as always, this is just an opinion show. And my opinions as well. It's very loosely based. It's not on much knowledge. It's just my thought when someone asks me the question, what springs to mind when that happens. These 5 can be put in any order, and more could be added as well. So these are just my top 5, and let's see what we've got with it. 5th place, I have put the Mercedes of RSF1 Mansell. Mansell had, where did he finish last time? I think it was 8th or 9th. So I think he'll be very happy with 5th place. I think he'll get the odd 1 or 2 wins this season, and I think again he can push on from a decent season last time out. 4th place, I've put the Williams of RSF1 Lando. Now Lando may be a little bit disappointed to drop down from 2nd to 4th, but I predict a very, very close season with these drivers. I pretty much think this will go down to the last race. Well, I hope it goes down to the last race, but I'm almost positive it will, because these drivers are all going to be very close, all very competitive. So I think again Lando. I think, of course, the only thing that's maybe put him down a little bit is maybe the pressure of team principal. But again, that's just, I could be completely wrong with that. That could motivate him a lot more. And as I said, he can win the title very easily. But yeah, that's where I put Lando in P4. P3, I have put the Red Bull of Midzi. Midzi, as we know, as I said before about him, a lot of people are very wary of his pace. Especially the fact they didn't do a full season last time out, on last season. So his first full season, this is where he can show his full potential. And let's see, I reckon he's going to push the top 2, push the eventual winner as well. I think they'll be very, very close. In 2nd, I stuck with the Red Bull, and I'm going to go with Unity Hush to finish in 2nd place. Again, possible bias showing, because obviously I drive for Red Bull myself. But this is entirely neutral. I do think Hush, I think he'll be relatively happy with 2nd place. Again, he can very much beat who I've put first, which some people probably figure out who it is now. And as I said, you can very much beat 1st place. Yeah, I think Hush will be renewed this time, this season. I think more wins going to come. I think he got a couple last season, but I think more consistent wins are going to come for Hush. But I do think, if pushed, and again, as I said, it's going to be very close, but I think if pushed to say who I believe is going to win, I believe Easton is going to retain the championship. It's going to be closer. I mean, his eventual win was by 41 points in the end, more than a race win. I think it's going to be, as I said, down to the final race, and I think he will just edge it. I feel like in times, like there were many races with both Mercedes, like Lando and Easton, when they were in situations. Remember Canada, I think a safety car happened, and they were down in 12th and 14th, and somehow got 3rd and 4th, or something like that. And that's the extra edge that Easton has. He doesn't seem to give up despite himself being in a bad situation. He just calmly thinks about things and then sort of gets a good result out of it. And that's what a good season is. Because race wins are good. Race wins, of course, are good. But when things don't go right, it's the best thing to have is like, what points can I get out of this situation? Can I get into the top 10? Even even if 10th or 9th will do, sometimes that will do. Sometimes you win the championship by 1 or 2 points, and that 9th or 10th, because you didn't give up or retire, could be the key. And I think Easton has that. I think he will just edge it. Again, I could be completely wrong in that. Could be somebody else. Could be anybody of one that I haven't mentioned. But that is just my thought at the beginning of this season. So, as for the teams, third place, I'm going to put the Alfa Romeo team of, where are they? Corey Marshall and Days Rhombus. As I mentioned before, I think Alfa Romeo could be the dark horse here. They have two very strong, very feisty drivers that are going to be up there, I feel. Yeah, you've got two definite title protagonists. Again, like the drivers, I think these three are going to be very, very, very close. I think around 30 points, 40 points maybe between the three. So maybe they can edge who I've put second and first. They're going to be up there, I believe. Second, I've put the Alfa Tower team of Easton and Pigeon. Of course, we know what these two are capable of. They are going to turn up every week, or mostly every week, and will be solidly in the top 10. Obviously, Easton we know, obviously reigning champion, and Pigeon, as I mentioned, his race results or race pace can be surprising, but also mind-blowing at times. Again, I think these two are going to be strong. But again, if I was hard pushed to pick a winner, if someone asked me, I'm sorry, the bias is showing again. Red Bull I've put as the team to just edge Alfa Tauri. Again, it's the combination of the two. I think they're good, very good qualifiers. I think they're good, very good race pace as well. Of course, the only thing would be pressure potentially, especially after me saying this, that I believe they could win, but I think they will just about edge Alfa Tauri. But as I mentioned, with all this is just an opinions-based thing. Don't take it to heart if I haven't mentioned you or your team. It's just what I believe at the time. But there you have it. That is the Tier 1 division. I am very much excited to watch the show that F1 provide. And I'm pretty sure they will provide some very exciting races for us. So that's all I need to say, really, about it. Of course, F1 tonight is on at 8 o'clock. Your two commentators are two people in the comms team that I trust and believe very highly, and that is Monster Skyline and LR Blazer Guns. They have commentated on F1 quite a few times before, and yeah, I'm sure they will provide pretty good action going forward. We also have a potential new commentator in the box for that day, but they are reserved for that day, but I'll mention that if they do jump in. Yeah, so I believe they will have a good season going forward. So yeah, make sure you join us from 8 PM tonight to watch the show, to see who can get a good start in the F1 tier around Albert Park, Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed that. And well, we have one final show tomorrow afternoon that I will do, and that will be for the F4 division. Before that'll be it, and then we can watch this exciting season in RSF1 unfold. So I've been RSF1 Michael, also known as Brundle. Hopefully you enjoyed that. But until tonight, take care and see you later.